Hello and welcome to CEO Insights. I'm Marilyn de Guzman with Investing News Network. Today we're speaking to Arvind Misra, Managing Director of Perth-based Belararox, to share his insights on the battery metals market and some new developments in his company. Welcome, Arvind.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your platform.
Yes, great to have you. Let's start off with just giving us an overview of the company and bringing us up to date on your current projects.
Look, Belararox is a relatively new company. We listed this company on Australian Stock Exchange last year, January 2022, on the back of the project, the flagship project we had at that time, which is a Bellara project itself. It is in New South Wales. It's about three-hour drive from Sydney going towards northwest, and in a very well-established mining region. The towns nearby are Orange and Dubbo. Orange is known for hosting large gold, copper mines. Newcrest and other players are there. So in a very good location, and the project is in the Lachlan Fold Belt, which has been which has hosted many significant deposits before, and which have been mined, and there's still a lot of exploration activities going on with a lot of bigger players and smaller exploration companies. In addition to that, we have a project in Western Australia, near Coolgardie, which is, and the region mainly has been known for traditionally for gold exploration, but recently there has been some of the gold companies have converted themselves into lithium because there's a lot of lithium pegmatite found. So we also have had a review of our ground, and we have gone and reviewed it, and we are now focusing on the lithium side of the ground also. So with that two projects, we listed this company last year, and most recently we have announced acquisition of a project in Argentina. It is a company that we are acquiring called FOMO, which has a project called TMT, Toro, Malambo, and Tambo. This project is owned by a very well-renowned geologist, Mr. Jason Ward. Jason has been responsible for finding many significant deposits from grassroots all the way to turning into large resources. And one of the more recent ones is a company called Sol Gold, which has a project in Ecuador, a very large copper gold porphyry system. It's $1 billion company now. So Jason is well credentialed, and additionally, Jason lives in Argentina with his family. And that's really a good boost for us in terms of being able to manage the project in Argentina. And he has got a team of geologists who are very well skilled, well qualified, who can help us carry out our exploration program in that area. Additionally, the project is in San Juan province of Argentina, which is ranked #1 by the Fraser Institute of Australia in terms of the mining friendliness. San Juan is very active right now. It's experiencing the mining boom. And immediately south of this project, about 10 kilometers or so from our project, there are two large mines being operated by Barrick Gold. And immediately north of us, about 50 kilometers north of us, is a company called London, which is operating a couple of exploration programs and setting up a large $4 billion project for copper gold. So very exciting project, very good team, and having done a very successful IPO, very well placed with and very happy with the way we are right now.
So let's talk about a little bit more about the FOMO project in Argentina, since that's the most recent news you've had. Can you talk about the significance of this project for the company's future?
So this project, as I said earlier, is in the San Juan province, which is very, very active right now. A lot of major players are investing significant amount of money developing new projects and finding new projects. This project has been drilled in the past by two previous owners, Sonoma and Voltaren, and about 22 holes that we have found in the DD process that have been drilled. And the results of those will be announced in the coming time when we announce a binding agreement. But the analysis of the hole that I have seen so far bodes very well in terms of us being able to find an economic deposit there. And the scale of that also looks likely to be quite significant And sometimes when I look at the peer comparisons of those a similar kind of endowment, there are companies like Rumble and all, they have got those kind of deposits which are really valued very well by the market right now. So this project is in the elephant country. It was known for hosting bigger projects, and it's up in Andes, and it's if you look right at the border with Chile, so on the other side of the Chilean side, there's a lot of bigger companies already present with significant copper gold projects like BHP, Escondido, and other projects are there. And this side of Argentina is now experiencing similar kind of investment in the work being done, exploration and mine development. And this is another new area that's going to come up very big and will probably be producing a lot of battery metals like copper, zinc, and other stuff.
Right. Well, we'll certainly await some more announcements coming from your company about this project. So I want to, get your insights on the batteries metal sector. You've been a mining engineer for many years, and you've worked at several listed companies. Can you tell us about, some of the evolution that you've seen in the battery metals market?
Yeah, look, the world is sort of very focused on decarbonization and the target of 2050. And what that has meant is that a lot of this fossil fuel replacement with the alternative or renewable energy sources. And once you replace the majority of that energy over the time with this renewable energy, you need to develop a lot of infrastructure to replace that. And when you're looking at replacing them, you're replacing them with mainly solar or wind or other forms of energy. And for every time you go for solar, every time you go for wind energy, there's need for metals to build those infrastructure, build those turbines, build those solar panels. And this is the new demand compared to the conventional demand of these like metal that we are focusing, particularly zinc, copper, and also lithium. So zinc and copper, those traditional demands already been there, and now there's new demand coming up because of this decarbonization that the world is going through. So just for example, if I look at the zinc alone, and there's not the zinc is sort of from traditional usage itself, the growth in coating, in chemicals, in cosmetics and all, that itself is the supply and demand is not keeping up. We can see the gap coming up. And then if you plug in the new demand from this decarbonization push, we can see the demand for zinc doubling up over the coming decades. And there's not too many new supplies coming up. And so under the 1.5 degrees Celsius scenario, which was done by South 32, they're showing a total deficit of about 7.2 million tons of zinc. And even if you put all the projects which has already been explored or advanced to development stage, and some of them the long-term exploration program that possibly can become a mine, there's still 7.2 million shortfall. So we are very well placed in terms of the stronger commodity prices that we can see in the medium to long term for this. Similarly for copper, and the copper is another metal that goes everywhere in your iPhones and smartphones and all of that, in addition to its traditional uses in the infrastructure and the conducting electricity and all that. So we see that similar trend in the copper, and the lithium, obviously, world knows it. I mean, the requirement by 2050 is for 4.5 million ton lithium carbonate equivalent. And if you put all the known sources now, current production, and forecast everything that's coming up in the coming period, it only gets up to 1.5. That's a huge 3 million ton gap. So the supply and demand in that battery material space, because of the decarbonization push that the world is going through right now, it puts us in very good stead in terms of the stronger prices that we will experience by the time we come to probably developing one of these projects that we have into production.
Right. Do you have any thoughts on how we'll be able? So obviously, companies such as yourselves, are helping boost that supply. But as you said, it's going to be hard. But is there a way to, or do you see any way to for supply to be able to keep up, or at least be, close that gap between supply and demand?
All the research that I read through is forecasting these big gaps, and I don't know how that we can expedite or find a lot of them. I mean, there has to be very big push into the exploration of the new areas, and on a relatively, hopefully, successful, and then permitting, the government needs to cooperate and work through the whole system, so that the process of, like, between finding a deposit to developing a deposit can be anywhere 5 to 10 years, depending upon which jurisdiction you're working. And if that time spent remains that big, the gap is not going to be filled that fast. So the whole ecosystem has to work together. The governments, the investors, the companies, the experts, and the local community have to work together to expedite that process. And obviously, that probably may not be alone enough. And in my opinion, the alternative technology that are being looked at, they may, over the time, R&D and investment in them might actually be able to. That's how probably it will be a multi-pronged approach to fill the gap if world has to reach the target net zero by 2050.
And you bring up an important point about permitting, because I was talking to another company executive, and he mentioned the same in terms of doing something. This is on the government side of things, I guess, and the regulatory side of things, closing or shortening that permitting time, or doing something about that will, because that's one of the challenge right now, isn't it, for a mine to get from exploration to production.
Oh, look, so that's depending upon jurisdiction to jurisdiction. There's always that sort of constant questions, and it all differs from. I have operated mines in India, Africa, and Australia now, and some jurisdictions take longer than other jurisdictions, but it's still there's always room for improvement, even the jurisdictions which are a bit more efficient. But because we are at exploration stage, we only look for initial, like EIAs, environmental clearance approvals, and also drilling approvals and things like that. So in our experience, we don't see too many dramas in the jurisdictions we are operating right now. Only when it comes to start developing the mines, then it's sort of in those time frames which we're not experiencing right now.
Right. So now the race to decarbonization, is currently challenged by this looming economic downturn that's transpiring right now. How is your company preparing for this eventuality?
Oh, look, in terms of our short-term programs that we have got, we are well covered in terms of the capital raising we did. So IPO I did for about $5 million. And then I did subsequent secondary raising at 55 cents in September. And so we got enough money to be able to pursue the program. And also with this new deal that I'm doing, we will be making an announcement that it's probably is going to be very self-funding. So we don't have a need for immediately embarking upon capital raising. So our approach to now is to conserve the cash and do the very targeted work for now and produce some good results, which market will appreciate. And then when the market conditions generally improve, maybe we'll look at capital raising. But I just said I don't have a need for embarking upon a capital raising immediately. And this new acquisition I'm doing, you will find from an announcement, it's probably going to be pretty well on its own.
Sounds great. So what are your plans for 2023?
Very exciting year, 2023. We will continue to expand our exploration activities at the Belara. And Belara activities have been bolstered by granting of the 2 new leases this year. So we had about 190 square kilometers of the EL exploration license we were operating on. We have recently been granted 2 more on the eastern side, and total area between the 3 now is 643 square kilometers. So that opens up the corridor of 20 more kilometers of mineralized corridor for us south of where our exploration has been done till date, south of Native B. And then on the eastern side of those three leases, there are some old gold workings and that are of interest because although there has been some gold mining done, but nobody knows where the source is. So we'll be investigating that. So that's very exciting. On the Western Australia side, we have started our exploration activities to narrow down this lithium pegmatite story and see what we find. So we'll be doing some drone surveys, high resolution photography and drone magnetics in radiometrics and some surface mapping work and possibly some shallow drilling work. That's in Australia. But really, the lot of excitement that will really come from would be from Argentina, and it will be very evident when I announce my results, the enormity of the project. So that project is about 300 square kilometers on the southern side. We have a Toro project which has been drilled. On the northern side, there's copper gold porphyries. And Jason's view is that he's more excited about the copper one, even though the zinc itself on the southern side, the Toro project, is still very exciting. So there's a lot of news will flow out of those three projects where there will be continuous work done, continuous results reported to the stock exchange.
Sounds great. Well, a busy year ahead for sure for Belararox.
Very, very busy.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming and sharing your insights and your exciting company news with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoy talking to you, and I'm looking forward to talking next time whenever the opportunity arises.
Sounds good. And thank you for joining us today. Join us again next time for another engaging conversation on CO Insights.